Hi there, my name is Laura Walker and I've recently been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2, and I've decided to put this video together as a way to document what I'm going through for myself, for my own therapy, but also to keep family and friends updated. All of the support that I've been receiving is phenomenal, so I just want to keep everyone up to date. And if this video can help others who are going through the same thing, or you know somebody who's going through the same thing, then that's a massive bonus as well. So I'm filming from the cabin, which is my beloved therapy room. So a lot of people watching this will know that I run Peachy Wellbeing, which is a holistic therapy company. So that's aimed at helping people to feel happier, feel healthier with therapies like Reiki, crystal therapy, etc. So this is what I'm very much into. It's a part of my life. I've had to pause my practice for the time being. I usually run workshops and things like that as well, but I'm taking a little bit of time out for self-healing at the moment, which is something that I really, really need. I'm applying all of the things that I've learned, all the things that I already live by: energy work, crystals, nutrition, getting out in nature, meditation, mindfulness. I'm finding that affirmations are really helping me at the moment. So there's all sorts of things that I'm pulling in to help myself at the moment. And my intention for this channel, Peachy Wellbeing channel, was always to talk about lots of different topics that can help people. Things like the chakras, the energy systems. And it looks like I'm going to be doing this from a different angle than I originally expected. I decided to share really what I'm going through, as well as making other videos which will hopefully help other people too. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than the others, just because I'm wanting to explain everything that's going on with myself, and just to update everybody really. So the story so far, a few months ago I went to the doctors. Well, it's actually in January I originally went to the doctors because I found a lump around about this area here, so lower throat area, and they sent me off to the hospital for some tests, to speak to a consultant. Now originally they thought that it was a cyst on my thyroid, so I was quite happy with that. I thought, I'll take that sounds okay, it's not too scary. But then when they did the ultrasound, they realised that the lump was actually further down than expected, more towards my thymus, so they needed to investigate further. So they ran a CT scan, and from that they could see that I had a mediastinal mass. So I didn't know a lot about this. When they told me the name, I looked it up, saw the word tumour, thought, oh dear, that's not good. So they tried to take a needle biopsy, which is the normal next procedure for when they find a mass. So this gives them more information on what type of tissue it is, whether it's something to, something benign, or whether it's something that needs further investigation. Now at this stage it was very difficult to take a biopsy because of where the lump is. So it's very close to some major arteries. It's a very, very tricky procedure to do, and unfortunately they didn't take enough of a sample of the tissue to actually diagnose. So what they decided to do was surgical biopsy. So I went into hospital a couple of weeks ago, went under general anaesthetic, so they could take a bigger chunk of the mass to find out what sort of tissue it was. Now at this stage the surgeon had said to us that it's going to be either lymphoma or thymoma, and there was a very, very small chance of it actually being benign. So we needed to digest that information first of all. At first I guess it's a little bit scary, especially when you look those two things up. So the surgeon said to me, the best outcome for you would be lymphoma. And I took that away with me, not really thinking about it, went away on holiday, tried not to think about it. And then the results came through a couple of weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. And sure enough, it was lymphoma. Stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. So there are two types. You've got your Hodgkin lymphoma and non-Hodgkin lymphoma as well. So I don't know a lot about the non-Hodgkin. The Hodgkin lymphoma, they talk about the Reed-Sternberg cells. I think I pronounced that right. These are white blood cells, so they're lymphocytes which have developed into cancerous cells. So they've gone a bit mental, they've decided to split, they've got two nucleus, they've just gone rogue, basically. So those cancer cells build up to actually create the masses. So this is actually a disease of the lymphatic system, of the blood, and it builds up in the lymphatic tissues. So the next step was to get a PET scan to find exactly where these rogue lymphocytes, these Hodgkin cells were and where they've built up. So this was quite interesting. They actually inject you with radioactive sugar. So you go in, it's very surreal. You sit in a room for, well, it's actually 2 hours I was sat in a room for, the room of isolation, so I called it, with a good book. The time went quickly. When you got an Android, the time always goes quickly. But they leave the radioactive sugar to process around your system. Then they do a scan, so it's similar to a CT scan. It's 3D, and what it does is it lights up the parts of your body that are taking in the glucose. Now, the way that the consultant explained this to us was that your brain will light up, your heart will light up, some of your vital organs will light up wherever there's a high uptake of the glucose. But what shouldn't light up are the lymph nodes, so the areas where they expect the lymphoma. This is how they detect exactly where it is. So for myself, obviously around the mass was fully lit up. I also got quite a kind of high volume of cells around a right lymph gland here. Now, when I feel my neck, I can't feel it at all. It doesn't even feel like my gland's up. You have to really press hard to actually feel it, which is quite weird. And there are a couple of little dots kind of lighting up just at the back of my sternum near my windpipe. So the Hodgkin's is dotted around probably about 3 or 4 different places. Now, because of this, it's no longer stage 1. So stage 1 is if the lymphoma is just in one particular lymph gland. Because it's in more than one, it's stage 2. But because it's no lower than my diaphragm, then it stays at stage 2, which is good because that's an early stage still. It's classified as stage 2A because there is an absence of symptoms. Now, right from the beginning, I haven't had any symptoms at all. I feel very fit and very healthy. I'm still doing everything I normally do and then some. I feel like I'm on holiday at the moment. I'm going out walking all the time. So I'm really, really lucky because I know that some people get night sweats or they get fever, which are 2 of the kind of main symptoms recognised with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So at the moment, I'm completely free of those, which is really, really good. So stage 2A, it's a good stage to be at. It's better than 3 or 4, and I'm very grateful for that. So last week, my lovely husband Lee and I went to see the doctors at the City Hospital. We met Dr. Fox, who is going to be our doctor for the whole process, and he is fantastic. He explained everything. He explained the options for treatment. So the 2 options are both chemotherapy. The reason why they're not looking to go for radiotherapy initially is because of where some of the lymphoma is. So because some of it's quite close to my heart area, my breast tissue, there's a concern for longer term risks of redeveloping cancer or harming that area or harming the tissue around that area. So although the short term effects aren't as bad, then the long term effects aren't necessarily great. And they can evolve after about 20 years apparently. So if I was a lot older, maybe in my 60s, 70s, then they wouldn't be as concerned, but because I'm classified as young, 34 I wouldn't say is necessarily that young, but they keep calling me young, so I'll take that and I'll run with that. I'm happy. So because I'm younger, it's not really a good idea to be using radiotherapy. Having said that, after I've had the chemotherapy, they will be looking at whether or not radiotherapy is required as well. So they've just got to kind of play it by ear, and everybody's very different. So the 2 options for chemotherapy, there's the ABVD which is probably the most commonly known, and there's the beer cup, which is lesser known. Now the beer cup is used predominantly in Germany. It is used here as well a lot, but in Germany that's the only option you get, whereas here in the UK, I don't know if it's different for different regions, certainly here at Nottingham City Hospital they give you the option of the ABVD or the beer cup. So the ABVD is usually over a course of 6 months. So you have 2 cycles, 2 28-day cycles. After those cycles, then they take another PET scan, which is called your PET 2. So they see whether or not the treatment is looking like it's effective. If it is, then they drop the V, I do believe. I think I've got that right. So you've just got ABD. And then you continue with that for another 4 months. And then they check, obviously, to make sure that the cancer is gone, that you're in remission after that. Now, if they take the PET 2 and the ABVD isn't really working as they'd like it to, then they move you on to what's called the beer cup. So the type of beer cup that they were discussing with Lee and I is the beer cup DAC. So the beer cup used to be BEACOPP. They dropped one of the P's and add the DAC. Now they did this because of concerns about long-term issues with the beer cup, and also to lower the risk of it affecting your fertility. So they're working on this drug all the time, and I think it's called the accelerated or escalated beer cup DAC. So the advantages of this is it's a lot shorter, the treatment. So the treatment is usually about 3 months. So they do 2 rounds of 21-day treatment. You do go in more often. So with the ABVD, you go in once in a week, then you have 2 weeks off, and then once again, and another 2 weeks off, so it's twice a month. With the beer cup, you're going in for 3 days, followed by another day the following week before you get your break. Apparently it is a lot stronger, it's a lot more intense than the ABVD, hence why they don't hopefully they don't have to give it to you for as long. So after, I think it's 6 weeks with the beer cup, you have a PET scan, just as you do with the ABVD. Again, this is called your PET 2. If it's working, then they continue it for another 6 weeks, and then that should be a lot. Hopefully that will blast those Hodgkin cells out the water, done. That's the idea. If not, then they continue on for a little longer. So with the ABVD, the effects on fertility tend to be quite a lot lower. I've got 10% in my head. I think I'm right in saying that's kind of the risk, is about 10% that it will kind of affect your fertility, whereas the beer cup is more 50-50. As I say, they're improving that all the time, but that is something to bear in mind, and it's part of the decision-making process. So this is a decision that I have to make now. I don't feel like I'm making it alone. The doctors are very supportive. Our fantastic nurse, Faith, is absolutely brilliant. What a great name to have for a cancer nurse. She's brilliant. So I'm on the phone to her all the time. And my friends and family, and Lee, who's been utterly amazing, he's writing everything up, he's documenting everything, we're researching it. Having said that, there isn't a lot on beer cup at the moment. I'm finding when you search on Google, there's not a lot to look at. There are some reports, some research studies, so I've been looking at those. It's been a long time since I did research studies, when I did my health psychology masters, so I'm kind of glad I've got that knowledge on how to read them, but to be honest with you, you read one or two, it drip feeds you with little bits of information. It's not enough to make a decision on. So we're veering towards the idea of beer cup at the moment, but I will let you know once we've made that decision. Now, before we can start treatment, and I do just want to get on with treatment really as soon as possible, we need to look at egg freezing. So this is something that's quite normal with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Anybody who's going in for chemotherapy, which is the majority of people who have Hodgkin's lymphoma, need to look at fertility preservation. So we've actually been referred to the Nurture Clinic in Nottingham. Received a phone call from them today after a little bit of chasing, They've got an appointment for us on Tuesday, so we're going to go and talk about getting my eggs frozen. So the idea of this is that if the chemotherapy does affect my fertility, then we can look at actually using those eggs with IVF to hopefully conceive, so to hopefully create a baby at some point in the future, which is obviously what we'd love. So that's first priority at the moment. We're both really hoping it's not going to take too long, because although it's very, very valuable, very important thing to do, at the moment, you know, that the real focus is to get rid of the Hodgkin's lymphoma, just get rid of it and move on. Then it's going to be my recovery. Unfortunately, with any of the treatment, your hair will fall out. Not your hair, my hair. So I'm looking into a wig, possibly. It's just one of those things. It will grow back. It's not the end of the world. The most important thing is getting through this. I feel so positive, despite how scary this may seem. It's something which I feel prepared to take on. It's something that's just happening to my body. Accept that. It's so frustrating that they don't know what causes it. As a lot of the people watching this will know, I focus very much on healthy eating, getting a good range of nutrition, cutting back on sugar and alcohol, exercising, being good to myself, eating organic where I can, using organic products, skincare products. I try and minimise, very chemical based products. So it's a tricky one. It's not like, I need to stop smoking and do this, that and the other to get better. It's just one of those things. I'm not sure what caused it. At least we've had a few months really to get our heads around it all. When we had the diagnosis, I was actually oddly quite relieved to know what's going on. Almost felt like my body was going, yes, finally, you can hear what's going on, you're seeing what's going on, and that might sound daft to some people, but I don't know, I guess I kind of had a feeling for a little while that maybe something wasn't quite right, even though I have no symptoms. So I feel very fortunate that this is said to be a very easily treatable form of cancer. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's very responsive to treatment. So that is looking good, and I appreciate that the treatment is there. So all that's left now is really to crack on. So the doctor has put me on steroids, been on steroids since Saturday. I've always had a massive appetite anyway, I'm always eating, but I'm eating even more at the moment, and I'm putting on a little bit of weight, so that's good. I need to fatten up as much as I can, because unfortunately with chemotherapy, often your appetite can suffer a little bit. So that's just something to be aware of. I really need to make sure I get my reserves up. So at the moment, I'm really working with myself from a holistic therapy standpoint. I'm using Reiki. I'm using deep breathing exercises if I need to. I'm doing my affirmations. I've got my little affirmation card here. So I put this together based on what I feel, what thought patterns maybe I feel I need to change. And I like putting it together on a nice bit of card with my nice pens because it's just a nice thing, in the morning when you wake up, you read through your affirmations and it can really give you a massive boost. So the idea of this comes from Louise Hay originally. It's ancient wisdom really, but Louise Hay wrote a lot about affirmations. It's to do with changing thought patterns. So we often have thought patterns that are buried quite deep, stuff we don't even really know is there. Kind of old things that we tell ourselves, which can eventually have an effect on the physical body. So I'm not saying this is solely the reason why I've developed this lymphoma. There's lots of different theories as to how it got there, but it could most definitely help me, and it has already most definitely helped me in my healing process. So even though I haven't started the conventional treatment yet, I very much have started the healing process within myself. So saying these words over and over again, really feeling them as I'm saying them, really kind of cuts through to kind of my gut, kind of my heart, and it helps me to move forward, to let go of anything I need to let go of. A really good one here is I go within and dissolve the patterns that created this. I now accept divine healing, which is always a good thing. So it's about kind of looking after my body. I'm not just going to run away from it. I'm not just going to run away from the treatment. I am really going to try and embrace this whole experience and just go with the roller coaster. And I know that I will come out the other side. I feel very, very positive about that. And as I said before, I know it's not going to be easy. As Lee described it, we're kind of at the foot of the mountain at the moment. And it has to be one step at a time. It has to be one day at a time. That's the only way to get through it. So I'm going to leave it now. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's left me a message on Facebook, who's texted me, who's called me, met up with me for a cup of tea and a chat. One amazing friend, Amy, took me out to London to see a show, front row tickets, to take my mind off all of this. I feel like I've had some of the most lovely experiences over the last few weeks, few months, and I hope to see a lot of my friends over the coming weeks as well. It helps to keep me strong. Just knowing that you're thinking of me and sending me those loving, positive vibes means the absolute world to me. So thank you for that. I really, really do appreciate it. I will be back on here soon. I'm going to be doing lots of different videos on lots of different topics. As I say, this is just really as an introduction. So it's probably the longest video I'm going to post. I promise. All right, everybody take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Lots and lots of love. Bye.